even if he says something, that you should put a good twist on what he said. Right? This is how you protect one's honor and dignity. Because we could lose an honor and dignity real fast. But it takes us a long time to get this honor and dignity amongst the people. But within a short time, we could lose it with no problem. So we as believers, we are the protectors of one another. So we have to protect one another's dignity and honor. But do we do this? Allah knows best. The last one is the security of one's character and personality within the thoughts and minds of other people. The Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that do not search for the deficiencies of the believer and do not follow their faults. Because he who follows his brother's faults, his own faults will be sought by Allah. And he whose faults are sought by Allah, Allah will disgrace him, even if he keeps indoors. You know, that's serious. If you look at the thing where you held the same, he said, you know, you point a finger at somebody, you have, what, 3 fingers pointing back at you. But here it is in this hadith of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, do not search for the deficiencies of your believers, or your believing brothers, and do not follow their faults. Because you yourself have faults. And if you reveal his faults, then Allah will disgrace you, even if you stay indoors. So there'll be no way of hiding away from Allah. No, you cannot. It was a good story about somebody had the assumption or suspicion that this person was one thing and this person was, you know, actually something else. They said that there was Shaykh Balikin, it was doing a Hajj. And they said I proceeded for performing Hajj and we started moving with the caravan from Kufa. Everyone took the provisions for the first stage of the journey. You know, during that time, it was serious. You had to have provisions to go to Hajj. It's not like us now. We, you know, get on a plane and within a couple hours we're there. When they went off for Hajj, this was months just to get there and months to get back. And meanwhile, it said that the brother, he said, I saw a young man in ordinary dress and simple footwear. He said he saw him was in simple footwear, ordinary dress. He said, having nothing with him, neither food articles nor money, I formed a bad opinion. And through that, and thought that perhaps he was a Sufi. Maybe Sufis back then dressed a different way. They did. He said, why? He said, only because his appearance and apparel was like them. He was dressing like those of the Sufis. This is what they said, this hadith said. So he said, I imagined that he wanted to be a burden on others. They said back then, these people that were the Sufis back then, that they would go around, you know, becoming burdens on people when they're on journeys, right? So he said, as he went on, he said, there are some Sufi saints who beg to fulfill their needs and do nothing except wandering here and there. I thought that I should go to him and give him some advice. He said, I thought I must tell him that this way of life is improper. And that if you want to perform Hajj, do come. In whatever way you like, but do not be a burden on others. See, but the funny thing that happened, that this youth in which he thought that was a Sufi, because he had modest clothes and he thought that he didn't have nothing, he said when he had approached him, the man said to him, he said, oh, Shaykh, avoid suspicion. So of course this man was amazed, like, how do you know my name? How do you know who I am? It said this person in which who he thought was somebody other than who it was our seventh Imam. And that he was on his way to Hajj. And just because he thought that the Imam didn't have anything, because he was in such modest clothing, that he thought that this person, which was the imam, was somebody that was a beggar. That was what burdened the people. Just because what he thought to perceive was one thing was actually another. And it said later on when he realized that it was the imam, that then he saw the imam had his companions that was around him. But the first thing he saw is just because the man addressed the imam, he said, look, this person, he looks like the Sufi. He's going to burden all of us. He's going to bother all of us. He's going to ask us for our provisions. Look at this, a suspicion. And then when he approached the imam said, voice suspicion. We see this also in our time when we see people that dress a certain way. We assume that they are one way. We realize once we talk to these people, they are another. We see a person, he's dressed really, really dirty. We say, oh, this guy, he's a bum. And realize this guy may be a millionaire. We see a person that's dressed in a nice suit with some real expensive shoes. We think this person's a rich man. We'll find out this person might be a poor man. Through our suspicion on how people may be just by perception can lead us to sin. Just like that. It happens. Imam Ali alayhi salam said, he said, discard suspicion amongst yourself because Allah has forbidden it. Allah has forbidden us to be suspicious. We also look at, if we look at the general rules of Sukul Muslimin, this is the general rule of Sukul Muslimin. Is like when we go into the market of the Muslim, right? They consider everything, the hand of the Muslim is halal. Allah to prove this point is that they use this verse about avoiding suspicion. Because if we go into the market and we know that the Muslim said everything is halal, we shouldn't say, well, I don't know if it's not halal, and show the suspicion. But through this verse, it proves the general rule of Islam that the hand of the Muslim is halal. And to avoid the suspicion, saying that this person might have non-halal food, unless otherwise known. That's the wonders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inshallah, let me end. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.